I am Jerry Candelario.
I am Jazzmun Creighton.
APIT is proud to present My Wellness Journey Starts With Me, a visibility campaign to raise awareness about the importance of mental health and wellness in the LGBTQ2 spirit community.
We have assembled a talented group of social influencers who will share their experiences and their personal philosophies on their journey to wellness.
Through one-on-one interviews, they were able to share their thoughts on the COVID-19 pandemic, racial inequality, and the movements Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate.
These interviews are meant to spark dialogue and increase awareness to address our community's well-being.
Here is the interview featuring America's Gaysian sweetheart, Alec Mapa, as interviewed by our Fierce Gender Fierce Associate Director, Jazzmun Creighton.
So, what have you learned since the beginning of the pandemic?
Since the learning of the pandemic, I've learned that I don't need a lot. I don't need a lot of clothes. My husband and I ate out 3 times a week, had cocktails other places 3 times a week. And a cocktail is like, what, $12? And now this whole cabinet behind me is a bar. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all the goodies are in there.
Okay.
I don't need a lot. I don't even need clothes. I mean, literally, I've been living in a sweatshirt, boxer shorts, and Uggs for a year. So that now when I do have to put on clothes, it seems like an imposition. It's like, meh. And then I've learned that I'm never bored. I know that isolation for a lot of people has been like, what do I do? As a person with a husband and a child and a house and 2 dogs, I never run out of anythings to do. Anythings to do. What am I talking like that? It's when you're a family, it's the laundry gets done every week. Every day at 4 o'clock, I have to figure out what to make people for dinner. I have to, my husband and I are up at 6 a.m. He's up at 6 a.m. I'm up at 7 a.m. And we're getting our day started. We're making sure our son is fed and takes his meds and his vitamins and that he's ready for school. As a Cancerian, as a July person, I'm happy being home. In fact, all of my anxiety dreams are about like I'm in an airport someplace and I'm trying to get to my flight that takes off in a minute. Do you ever have that dream?
I'm jumping off mountains and things.
Yeah, I'm always trying to get home. So what I've learned is that I've all of my needs have really, really been simplified. And also it was a tough year for us financially.
Mhm.
I went from, gigging because me, if I'm not acting, I'm on the road doing stand-up.
Yeah.
If I get a couple of gigs a month on the road someplace where I just show up, talk for an hour and then leave, we can make it through the month. And so my husband has been the primary breadwinner in our relationship. He is an associate producer on a television show, and he's been doing all of that from home. That's the longest answer to the shortest question, but I've learned that I don't need much.
So would you say that was a positive thing, that because you have a husband that can provide and support, like, would that be like
Having a husband that can support us? Yes, that's definitely a positive thing.
Yeah. How was that?
Because the alternative is being broke ass broke, and which I know how to do. I mean, it's kind of. Oh, the dogs are barking. But as an artist, stop, Theodore. Mental health. Stop. As an artist, we know how to be, we've gone through those times where we're broke ass broke, and you have to figure out, how do I keep this going so I can stay true to what it is I want to do?
Yeah.
It's that inner compass. But that's the other thing I've learned, is that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right, because also as parents, you face one emergency, one crisis after another. You get through it, you fix it, and then another one's going to come along in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Trust.
Speaking of that,
So you have 2 choices in that situation. I can freak out all the time, or I can get upset and kind of be in the moment and be in my emotions. And then after that clears, after you take a breath, you know that it's going to be okay. All right, now what do we do? Now what?
And so knowing the now what's, right? Like, how did it affect you as a parent? Like, how was the parenting, your child being at home all the time? They're not.
Well, it's kind of lined up because my son is 16 years old.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
know, can you believe it? And he's at the age where it's all about privacy and isolation anyway.
Oh God.
And he's at the age like, from 5 to 10, they just want to be with you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
From 10 to 11, they're starting to back away. By 12, it's full on differentiation. It's like, you suck, you guys are idiots. But that's what we have to do is when we evolve as human beings, that's how you become an adult. Regardless of how nice your parents are or how you love them, you have to kind of separate yourself in order to find out who you are. And that's when your peer group becomes more important, which is why 13 to 14 is a nightmare, right?
Right. Yeah.
And now he's at the age where he is finding out who he is on his own socially. The kids these days, they don't meet up in person. They're on the phones, they're on computers. He has a gaming community. He has what's that thing he does? What's the thing he does where he creates a platform? Steam? No, he's on something where he's creating accounts where social accounts where people can talk. Discord.
Oh, okay. Is that new?
I don't even know what it is.
Oh.
But I'm finding that I had to change as a parent this year because the parent I was from 5 to 10, who was in his face, who was asking, clean your room, take a bath, eat this, come here, that doesn't work anymore and it doesn't serve him. And that was hard for me because I'm a monster. It's like I love somebody 3,000%. And the way that I love him now has had to evolve of me backing off, giving him space. And the pandemic has really taught me that because my son is away from me and on the computer and he's also going to school at home, it has nothing to do with me personally. I can't take it personally. I can't make that about me, which is what I was doing all through 12 and 14. I was like, why are you being such a dick? It's like, no, that's typical and that's appropriate.
Yes. So how were you able to tend to your own personal mental health then?
I do. I have therapy every Monday. Every Monday. And in the past 3 years, I've been on meds. I've been on Lexapro and Adderall for my ADHD. And what that does is it keeps me on task.
Got it.
It keeps me because like I'm like with my ADHD, I was like shiny, and then I'd be gone. And then there's half a dish of half a sink full of dishes still left over. I'm surrounded by unfinished things, unfinished work, books that I need to read. And with my medication, now I finish things. And now I feel like I need to finish things. But seriously, the major thing that's changed for me, Jazzmun, is a month after lockdown, I started chanting.
Oh, beautiful.
I mean the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and it's all because like What's Love Got to Do With is one of my favorite movies. This is like the gayest entryway to chanting, and I was like, what is that about? Because we were left with nothing but time.
Yes.
I set aside an hour a day to chant with headphones. On YouTube, I found this amazing chant that's an hour and 7 minutes. There's an opening prayer called the Gongyo. I went on Google and I printed that up. And then I did it every day. I've been doing it every day for a year. And one, I'm hooked on it because it's an hour to myself. And two, the chant, what it does is because it's the perfect meditation for somebody with ADHD. Because when you meditate, you're just supposed to watch your thoughts, right? It's like a car going by. You like close your eyes, you hear your thoughts, you don't resist them. And then after a while, with the breathing, you just kind of like your mind goes, shh. What would happen with me is I would just close my eyes and I'd watch my thoughts, and then it became a freeway. It was just kind of like, it was just thought after thought. With chanting, when your mind wanders, you just go back to the chant. And all of a sudden that centers you. And how it feels like, Jazzmun, is there is like, if you imagine like a flowing river, a big flowing river, and it's energy and it's light, and you kind of just step into it and you don't resist it. And you feel that energy going through you. Now, it's taken me a year to get to that place. Because before I'd be like, this is boring. What am I doing? This is dumb. And then I just got into it, and it really, and what it, oh, this is the major thing that it did. I stopped worrying about everything.
Nice.
Remember when I said earlier that you have an inner knowing that everything is going to be okay?
Yeah.
Is kind of like what the chanting does is it connects you to your inner knowing, because that's what we're all cut off from. There's an inner knowing, there is an inner intelligence that is what we're all born with, what takes us all through life. I don't know about you. Have you ever had those times in your life where it's kind of like everything looks really, really bad, but something in you goes, no, it's going to be okay, right?
Yes.
So what it does, if you experience that one time in chanting, it translates into the rest of your life. That when stuff comes up, you become less reactive and braver. It makes you braver. And it's made me like, with my kid, my parenting, it's like one thing goes wrong, it's a disaster, right? And my husband was always the one of like, will you relax? That doesn't mean that the whole world's going to fall apart just because this one thing is out of place. Because that's how I was raised, right? As like a veal, as like boxed in. Now when I look at it, I just kind of let things be. And the kind of work I'm doing now, I mean, everything's on Zoom, everything's been auditioning. I have a lighter touch with everything because when I was auditioning for things, when I'm auditioning for things, one of the things in the chant is what's mine is mine. What's meant to be is mine. And so when I didn't get something, instead of the initial, God damn it, I'd be like, that's not mine.
Yeah.
It's not mine. And if this is mine, then I'll get it. Because that's been true if you look at your own life.
Yes.
There have been times where I've forced things to be a certain way, relationships, jobs, certain situations that aren't healthy for me, right? It's like just trying to fit in my agenda for things. And what chanting also teaches you is that your agenda is not that great.
And then I hear like something in you where like you don't need to work at something that you already know that you are. There's nothing you need to choose, be or do. You realize and you're coming to a real realization of yourself that you're enough right now, right here.
Right. It's like you. Nobody does Jazzmun better than Jazzmun.
Yeah.
Only you own that essence.
Yes.
That comes from you, and that's your thumbprint. And that is your place of power.
Yes.
And when you try to deviate into what do they want?
Yes.
What do I need to be for this relationship? What do I need to be for this job? Or where do I need that it diminishes you.
Yes.
It diminishes your power. It diminishes your essence because that's your uniqueness. You're just sitting still and who you are is the most powerful you're ever going to be. Yes. It's and that's what the pandemic has taught me is kind of like, I'm not money.
Right.
I'm not money. I'm not my job. I'm not, I was really like a couple months ago, I was like, all my friends are on television series and I don't know, this person got this job and my, and I said, I'm so broke. And I was just kind of fixated on, and I know what it was now. It's like, I'm identifying with my money. I'm identifying with that. You know what I mean? The status.
Yeah. Something outside yourself.
Yeah. And exactly. And my therapist said, Alec, how much are you worth as a person? And I said, there's no price on that.
Right.
I'm pretty fabulous.
Yes.
And that was my aha moment. But not just for me, but for everybody. It's like your value as a person is unnameable.
Yeah, no, completely. And then thinking about that, like define self-care for yourself. Like what does it look like? I know that you're chanting, like, but like, what are you doing outside the house?
Outside, well, not much.
You go on walks?
We go on walks. My husband and I go to a distancing gym class 4 days a week outside. It's a social distance gym class at Occidental College, which is a block from us. And it's a gym teacher it's gym class. We're exercising because during the first part of the pandemic, I didn't exercise for 6 months. which was kind of great. And then I was fat.
You like to eat light snacks. I like to eat food.
And there's nothing wrong with that if you
No.
own your size and your body or everything, but I didn't feel good. I felt, and now that we're exercising, I sleep better. I'm hornier. And I look at my belly and it's not perfect, but I'm like, hey, we're getting there. We're work in progress, you know?
So you've been working though in the pandemic. You've been filming, like we did film.
We did a movie together. I light up whenever I see you. There's something about you. I mean, just like I think, did we meet on Roseanne?
Was that the first one?
I think that we met in the Halloween episode of Roseanne, and then
The first one was NYPD Blue.
Really? Was that first? And
Yeah,
then
because they flew us
we
to New
were
York.
sisters on NYPD Blue, and I
Yeah.
was murdered. This was back when cisgender people could play transgender people.
Yeah.
I was taking a job away from it, but I was with you, so it was accurate. God, we were
That was the
gorgeous
first
together.
time.
We should have had we were ahead of our time, you know?
Yeah.
If those characters had come out now, we would have had our own television show where we
Yeah.
were detectives.
Yeah.
You know, they would have taken us on and we would have become trained to be detectives on that show.
Yeah.
We would have been so good.
You know the
No,
guy
but
that
we
played
were great together. I get Instagram messages or Twitter messages when people goes, "Is this you?"
That was a good time.
Yeah, but I've been working. I mean, we did the movie together. I've been doing stand-up on Zoom for Uncabaret. I started my own mental health podcast
Oh,
called
wow.
Alec Mapa Hot Mess. With
I saw
Matthew
that.
Dempsey. Yeah, with a
therapist.
therapist friend of mine, Matthew Dempsey, psychotherapist. He's a genius therapist. He has 2 master's degrees from Columbia. We're on
Wow.
Spotify, we're on Apple, and every week we invite a celebrity with Sandra
Mhm.
Bernhardt, Isaac Mizrahi. I want to have you on the show.
I would love that.
We've had amazing people on the show just talking about like what we're talking about right now. What are you doing for your mental health and what's working? What have been your struggles? And the reason I started that is I suffered from chemical depression for years.
Yes.
And I didn't get any help because I was embarrassed.
Mhm.
And I was embarrassed because culturally, as a Filipino, therapy was for rich, crazy people.
Yeah.
And meds were for weak people.
Mhm.
And then I got to a point where it got so bad, I was like, I got to get help. And when I got help, everything changed and my life got better. Like when I got the meds that I needed, I always would have a period of I'm not kidding, a month to 6 weeks out of the year where it's despair. Everything is hopeless. But what was happening was that was becoming the norm. It went from 6 weeks to 7 weeks to 8 weeks till I was just feeling I'd be in Trader Joe's and I'd stop and just stare off into space. And I thought, this isn't normal. This isn't. And I always thought it's it's because I'm unemployed.
Mhm.
It's because I'm not working right now. Or it's because I'm struggling as a parent right now. And it's there has to be a way to kind of be in whatever you're in and not feel like it's the end of the world all the time. Right?
Yeah.
So I took Lexapro. We experimented with the dosage, and now I have all my feelings, but I don't live with them all day. Like if I feel sadness, it's like I'm having a cup of coffee with sadness right now,
Mhm.
but we're not going to spend the whole day together. We call it Karen, like Karen's calling.
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't even pick up.
Wow.
You know, so I think that everybody should have a therapist and it
Yeah.
should be free.
Yeah.
I think we're in a real crisis right now. It's like we're finding out more and more that mentally our brains, it's a hard drive. You can't have a computer with a shitty hard drive. Nothing's going to work.
This is true. So would you say that would be your suggestion to someone that's struggling with mental, with, I don't want to say illness, but mental, disparity?
Yeah. If you're having despair, get help. Talk to somebody. Talk to anybody. I have a friend who's on The Daily Show, Dulce Sloan, and she goes, as a Black woman, I can't go to therapy.
Why can't you go?
She said, because I was raised, you don't go tell a stranger your business.
Yeah.
When you have your family.
Yeah.
And I, as much as I talk her into it, she slips right out of it. But what it sounds to me is if she does have a support group around her. She has mamas and aunties, people that she can be completely authentic with.
That's beautiful.
And because the hard truth is, and the unfortunate truth is, we can't all afford to go.
Yeah.
The mental health benefit isn't available to all of us, and that's a crime.
Yeah.
Because the Surgeon General of California, this gorgeous Black woman, and I can't remember her name, I'm drawing a blank, has now made mental health screenings a part of the health of children in California.
That's beautiful.
Because there's a large number of children in low-income areas who have PTSD that has been unaddressed and untreated. And if you don't address PTSD in children, they grow up to have all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Just it's awful. And it's a crisis. And, my son, as a kid who has lived in foster care for the first 5 years of his life, had a lot of PTSD that he needed to process.
Yeah.
And needed to process as a Black boy growing into a Black man. And my realization is you either get help or you go to jail as a Black man. He cannot afford the luxury of being a Black man, an adult with rage issues or impulse control issues. He's not going to be given the chance. If you're white, you can do anything you want. You can whip up your supporters to burst into the Capitol, and you're going to walk away scot-free every single time. People of color do not have that luxury, which is why I'm an advocate for, I'm joking about Dulce, but there is a movement online and in the diaspora of more and more Black people seeking mental health, destigmatizing it. There was do you watch Insecure?
I love that show.
It's so good. Molly seeing the imagery of Molly going to a therapist, seeing a Black female therapist, that is revolutionary.
Yeah.
And I think we need to reframe it not as a bougie thing or not as a exclusive thing, but as like a self-care thing.
Yes.
Your mental health is just as important as your lungs, your blood pressure, because if your head's not together, if your hard drive is messed up, nothing's going to work. And that's what that's what the pandemic has taught us. It's kind of like, well, if you're with yourself every day,
when you want the best version of yourself,
you're gonna have to figure things out. And I think what it's done, everybody's saying 2020 sucks, and I think that it's also, there have been gifts in it as well, because it's made us all look at, who are we? Who am I without a job? Who am I without these friendships? Who am I without socialization? Who am I at the very core of who I am? And as much self-care as I've done, I found that my core was really neglected. And the meditation and the thing of just being quiet has led me back to that place. And what that does is kind of like, I can get a job, and I got a job recently, a really cool one.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
But it's kind of like, it's a job, and it's going to come and it's going to go. And that's not the source of my happiness. Everything's the Wizard of Oz. It's like we spend our whole lives trying to find our validation and happiness of things outside ourselves.
Right.
When your inner self is just there from the minute you're born, going, I'm fine.
Yeah.
We're good. I'm from the universe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep going. My consciousness is forever.
Yeah.
And it'll keep going. And I have all the answers, and I have the quietude, I have the peace, I have the joy, I have the abundance right here. And we're all going.
Good. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lately, in the news, there has been a lot of anti-Asian sentiments, right? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings?
Well, anytime there is violence, the genesis of that is fear. It's kind of, and if you're ignorance and fear are the most destructive things possible, right? We're seeing that's what the last election was about. It's like, if I can make you afraid enough, you're gonna vote for me.
Yes.
And it's like, that's racism, that we're in danger. Unless we're in power, your way of life is over, right? They're out to destroy you. They're out to destroy white people. And with Corona, it's stopped our lives. It's made people afraid, and there's so much built up frustration and fear, and it's very easy to look at a helpless old Chinese person and go, I'm going to take it out all on you. I'm not, and it's heinous. It is awful, but we have to call it out.
Yeah.
And, just as much as, last year was all the consciousness raising about Black Lives Matter, and really kind of putting yourself in other people's shoes. And it's, as a father of a Black son, all my Black friends, when I adopted a Black child, would said, "Oh, you're Black now." And I didn't really know what that meant. I was like, okay, but now it's true. It's everything that touches you, touches me. But that's the way it's been all along. Do you know what I mean? That would have been true whether or not I had a Black kid. Violence against Black people. I hate it when I hear people say, well, and I've said it, that because I have a Black son, I'm hyper aware of violence against Black people. It's kind of like, you don't need a child to know that child molestation is wrong. You don't have to have a daughter to know that trafficking is wrong, right? It's wrong no matter what, no matter who you are. But I think people see things as separate from themselves. And with the violence against Asian people, it's that thing. It's like, you're separate from me. You're not me. And it didn't help that the president was going, the China virus, the Wuhan virus, that really drummed it up.
Yes.
So again, it's kind of like the lesson. What this virus has taught us is that we have to operate as if we're all together in this, or we die. Those are the choices. I was watching Game of Thrones last night, season 7, and she's going, you could follow me, or my dragon's gonna kill you.
You got a choice.
Those are your choices, but here's a biological choice.
Yeah.
I can act like I don't give a shit about anybody else. I'm not gonna wear a mask. And then you go out and you fuck things up.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely.
Or you can go, this is what I can do to protect myself and everybody else today.
Yeah.
Because I'm a part of this. This isn't happening separate from me. That's the body of humanity right now. There's a cosmic speed up happening right now.
Yes.
On the planet, because this happened to the planet.
Yes.
And what the planet is telling you is act like you're one organism, that you're not separate from each other.
Yeah.
You have, all the cells in our body. This operates the lungs. This operates the heart. This operates whatever, right? And when a cell goes rogue and says, fuck all y'all, I'm not going to do what I want to do. I'm just going to reproduce on my own and care about myself. That is, in medical terms, that's cancer.
Yes.
And so you have people in the world who are like, I don't give a shit about anybody else. And you're harming yourself. You're harming the world. You're harming the organisms, the main organism that is humanity. Because, you zoom back on everything on a microscope and everything's one thing.
Yes.
And I think that's what the cosmic speed up is about right now in spirituality, is the humanity's being given the choice going forward. I didn't mean to get this deep.
No, I love it. Yeah.
Going forward, that I'm not separate from you.
Right.
You're, like the trans movement has made leaps and bounds in visibility and has leaps and bounds to go. Black Lives Matter there's been like, since the 60s, there hasn't been this heightened awareness. But unless we continue with that consciousness and say, let me look at my privilege, let me look at how it's hard to argue against a system that you benefit from.
Yeah.
But the very simple shift is, what if it was me? That's it. What if you were me? What if I'm looking in the mirror right now? Would I want this to be happening to me? Yeah. So we have to get our act together, because it's going to go either way.
What is knowing that desire is everything, what is your hope for 2021?
2021. Well, I mean, when I think about like being a cell and being an organism, that's also made me think of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What do I, that's another thing that chanting has done for me, is like, what's my mission? What is my contribution? And God made me stupid. I'm funny. So that's what I bring into the room, but I can't do that unless I take care of myself. You can't draw from an empty well. So take care of myself so I can do my job, bring joy into the room. I want to bring joy into the room. I want to make people feel good about themselves. I want people, sorry, I'm doing my podcast. I want people, I'm hosting the RuPaul's Drag Race official podcast too. And, you
Nice.
know, all these things, it's energy. I want to change the energy around me because that's the most powerful thing we can do. Is like, I told you, I light up when I see you.
Yes.
That's the gift you give from me just by being my friend and your spirit and all we've been through. Like, I could look at you across the room like, right?
Yes.
Is we are very powerful beings in that respect. You know, we tend to feel helpless, but if I can make the day better for me and for you and for everybody else, if there can be a rise in that consciousness of I'm not alone, I'm not in this alone, I have a contribution to offer, I'm needed,
Yes.
then that is my wish for humanity for 2021. I'd also like to remodel the bathroom if I get
Huh.
enough money.
I like that. The very last question for you. Define pride.
Defied what?
Define pride.
Pride.
Coming
Pride
up.
is pride is oh, that's a good one. An abundance of self-respect.
Yes.
That it's kind of like an abundance of self-respect, meaning that I don't need your outside validation. I don't need you to tell me who I am. Um, Somebody asked me recently in an interview, what do you feel about people who are against gay parents? And I said, you know what? The question of what I put in the time
Mhm.
and the hours,
Yes.
and the question of whether or not I'm a fit parent is no longer up for discussion. It's not a discussion I'm willing to have. Period. End of subject, full stop. And I've never said anything like that before. And that to me was pride. It was kind of like, you know, it's like, I'm cool and this isn't up for discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I'm doing the
Mhm.
best I can. I'm not so bad. I'm not that great, but I can respect myself. And a therapist once told me, you know, self-love is really kind of a weird goal because it's self-love. What does that mean?
Yeah.
But I can teach people to respect themselves. And by respecting yourself means I'm not going to put myself in a bad situation.
Right.
I'm not gonna make decisions that are not gonna be healthy ultimately for me.
Mhm.
Because the thing is, when you keep on doing that, it gets harder to fool yourself at a certain
Yeah.
age. You know, all through my 20s and 30s, I was a bumper car, making every single bad decision, crashing through walls,
Mhm.
crashing down the street, crashing. And then finally, you know, the universe just goes, okay, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And then I ended up such a car wreck that it's like, okay, now what? Do you want to fix this or not? These are things that you have to pay attention to.
Mhm.
And that's our evolution as human beings. And unfortunately for me, I've made my life harder than it is because I learned things the hard way. I'm stubborn. You know, you can't tell me what to do. And now as I get older, I'm becoming more and more surrendered in terms of maybe I don't know everything.
And it's okay.
It's okay, but you're actually in a more powerful place. You're
Yeah.
teachable. You're teachable. And my goal for 2021 is just kind of take last year, the lessons of last year, and apply them to this year. That's all we can do. That's the school of life.
Yeah. Alec, thank you.
Hi, I'm Alec Mapa. I'm an actor and a comedian. I live in Los Angeles, California. Sexy is any number of things. It's subjective. It's different things to different people. But to me, sexy is when somebody's confident. Sexy is when somebody has a great sense of humor. Hands are sexy. Lips are sexy. And eye contact. Eye contact is very sexy. Don't take it so seriously. It's not that big a deal. I think that I would try to counsel my younger self on the differences between sex and love. There was nobody around to tell me that those were two different things. So I would tell my younger self that there's a difference between sex and a difference between love, and they don't always mean the same things. My greatest fear is 8 more years of Trump. I am not afraid of getting an HIV test because knowledge is power. The more you know about your status, the healthier you can be. That's important.